5, and 6. How would we start solving 5?
Okay, oh no, I'm screwed. Okay, oh no. Wait. Okay, first you times the -4 by the n and the 5 and the 16.
Not the -4, just the negative. So this would be -4n minus n minus 5 equals 16 plus 2.
Right.
Then what?
Okay, then what you're gonna want to do is, geez, Rick.
Anyone can answer. Yes. So these two would be -5n minus 5. Then you have choices. You can move whichever n you want to the other side and whichever constant you want to the other side. Does not matter which one. Which one do we want to move first? Anyone?
-5, I guess.
Okay. So we would be adding 5n to the other side. At the same time, I'm going to get rid of the 16 and move it to the other side. So our 5n's would cancel, our 16's would cancel. -5 minus 16 would give us -21. 2n plus 7n would give us, plus 5n would give us 7n. And we would do what to get our final answer?
Divide 7n by 7.
On those ends. So n would equal -3.
Almost.
Questions on that?
Can you use this to get the beginning of the year?
If you have a word, you have. For 6, you'd be doing the same thing. Distribute everything. So you have, and on this side, we can also combine like terms, so we're going to do multiple things at the same time. Combining these like terms, we get positive 3m. If we distribute, we have -m minus 2 plus 2 minus 4m. We could combine our like terms on the right side. -m minus 4m would give us 5m. -2 plus 2, those would cancel and just become 0. Remember that our goal is to still get all the m's on the same side. What would we do next? How would we get them on the same side? We can either add 5m to the other side or subtract 3m to the other side. What we're not going to do is divide, because that would still have m's on both sides. So these would be 8m, these would cancel, become 0. Now we have something we can actually solve to get m by itself. Divide both sides by 8, and your m would be 0. Remember that 0 can be a solution. Do we have any questions on that? Does anyone still need this before we move on? For number 26, we are now writing equations from a graph. So this would be on the one that says objective 4, writing linear equations. Should be a stapled packet. I want to say the numbers may be a little different, but on the first page, the graph that was there. So I think yours might be 16 instead of 26. Nope, my graph is different. whichever one looks like this. It might be 18, it might be 16, I'm not 100% sure, but it's on the front page. It's on that page.
We don't have one. It's
Oh.
not the same.
Yeah, that's,
It's
yeah.
exactly the same.
Do one of your negative ones, it will be similar how you solve it. So find the y-intercept of your graph. The y-intercept of my graph would be -1. So look for where your line crosses the y-axis.
1.
Wherever yours is, it might be different for you. And then find another point on that would cross grid lines exactly. You may have to look for it. It may look like it's going to cross, but it doesn't actually. Like for mine, this one would. You just have to find one other point along that line that would cross the grid lines in the background exactly. And then you're going to count the slope between those 2 points, either down and to the right or up and to the left. So for mine, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. My slope would be -4. Yours may be the same, it may be different. And then you would take your slope and your y-intercept and put it in the form y equals mx plus b. So your m would go first, then x, and then whatever your b value is. I know some of ours may have been different, but do we have questions on that part? I want to say you all have either a vertical or a horizontal line. Which one is it? I think vertical. It might be at the same point, it may not. But if you have a vertical line, you have to remember the hookups. I wrote this backwards. So if this is a vertical line, that's going to be an x equals, and you find wherever this crosses the x-axis. So mine would be at -2. If it was a horizontal line, that would be a y equals, and it would be wherever it crosses the y-axis. Do you have any questions on writing equations from a graph? I don't know what happens. Tell me what your question and negative. I'm just going to change mine because I don't know what happened. So whichever one that says for you, if you're given slope and y-intercept, how would you write this in slope and intercept form? Y equals 1 to x minus 3. You're still going to questions on that part? Let's redo that.
Wow.
So we're going to do that on 23. So if you're given in something like this, you have to use your point slope formula. If you need to, write this somewhere on here. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. On the test, you'll need to know that. And we could put these into this formula. So y minus, our y1 is 0. Our slope is negative 1/2. And then x, and then minus a negative 4. If you see a negative negative, change it to a plus. And then you could distribute. Y minus 0 would just be y. So I can go ahead and simplify that. And our equation would be y equals negative 1/2 x. Negative 1/2 times 4 would be negative 2. So y equals negative 1/2 x minus 2. Do we have questions on that one? On the next page, we're going to do 26, and then we'll do one of the bottom ones. So for 26, it says through the point 33, and the slope is undefined. We need to remember what type of line has an undefined slope. It's going to be a vertical line, so that's going to be an X or a Y. X. And write your point buttons if you need it. So this would be undefined, so it's vertical, it's an X. What does your X equal? 3 from the ordered pair. So this one doesn't really have a whole lot of work that you need to. The same would be if it says slope equals 0, but it would be the opposite. It would be a Y, and you would look for your Y value. For number 28, where you're given 2 points, you need to first find your slope. Remember that's your y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Label these if you need to, or if it helps you. So this would be negative 5 minus negative 4 over 2 minus 4. Negative 5 minus a negative would be plus 4, so negative 1. 2 minus 4 would be negative 2. Simplify always, our negatives would cancel and become positive. From there, we can choose either of these points and solve. I'm going to use the first one. So we have y minus a negative 4 equals 1/2 times x minus 4. You can distribute and change the negative negative to a plus at the same time if you didn't already do that. So this would be y plus 4 equals 1/2 x minus 2. And then we would subtract 4 on both sides. y equals 1/2 x minus 6. Do we have any questions on that? You guys don't have this one, but write this somewhere. You don't have to write everything, just write has an x-intercept at 3, 0, y-intercept at 0. What? Right, somewhere that you have an x-intercept of 3, 0, y-intercept of 0, 2. Some of you have a blank page on the back, some of you don't, but if you have space there, you can write it. You could use the graph, or you could do this algebraically, either or. So if I plot these 2 points, x-intercept would be on the x-axis, y-intercept would be on the y-axis. I could count my slope from here, or do it algebraically. Either way, you would have to show me what your slope is. If you got a problem like this, what would your slope between these 2 points be? -2/3. So going this way, we'd go up and to the left. Going this way, we'd go down and to the right. Either way would be -2/3. And it gives you a y-intercept. So you don't have to solve for that. You just have to put those 2 things in an equation. So y equals -2/3x plus 2. Do we have any questions on that one? And then look at the very last page, which is your parallel perpendicular stuff. I think these are the same. We're going to start with number 1. It's asking you to write an equation, write the equation of any line that's parallel to the equation given. So what would the slope of my next line be if it's parallel? -1/2. So I'm going to start off y equals -1/2 x. Your y-intercept can be anything you want except -4. So someone give me a number.
5,687.
5,000 is good. Any number besides -4. Questions on that? For number 3, same thing, but now it's perpendicular. What would my slope be? +5, because you're taking this, flipping it, and making it positive. So y equals 5x. You can choose any y-intercept you want, including this one. If you put -5, that would be fine. Leave it as 0, that's fine.
Any y-intercept?
Any y-intercept.
It's over 9,000! Yay!
Right? Remember that if you get something like this, you have to know what the slope is, so refer back to your Koi bucks so that you know what the slope is and could flip it. For number 6, if you got something like this, this is going back to what we were doing the other day. You're given a point, you're given a line, you are trying to write another line that is parallel to the original. If it's parallel, what would that slope be? -7/3. And we would do our y minus y1 formula, point slope formula. So y minus our y1 here is 5. Our slope is -7/3. X minus a -3, or you can put plus. And then we would solve. So I would need to change this to a plus. and then distribute and solve. So y minus 5 equals negative 7 over 3x minus 7. The 3's would cancel. And if I add 5 to both sides, I would get 12. So this is the answer to 6, not 8. I'm sorry. That was positive. It's negative. So this would be 2, negative 2. So y equals negative 7 over 3x minus 2. It's parallel. They have the same slope, but different y-intercepts. Questions on that? We're going to do a perpendicular one in a second. For 7, if we have to find an equation that's perpendicular to this, what would the slope be? Positive 9 over 2. Take this, flip it. If it's negative, make it positive, and vice versa. And then we do that same thing. Y minus 4 equals our slope, 9 over 2, times x minus 2. Distribute. So we have 9 over 2x minus 9. The 2's will cancel. And then we could add 4 to both sides. So our equation would be y equals 9 over 2x minus 5. Yes. So if we have perpendicular slopes, they have to be negative reciprocals. One is flipped, or the flipped version, and one has to be negative, one has to be positive. I'm gonna attempt to start this. We may not have to finish it. If you get something like 9, you have to find the equation of this line first. So your y-intercept is at 6. You have to find another point that goes through grid lines exactly. Your slope would end up being negative 2. So this equation would be y equals negative 2x plus 6. And you would have 2 answers for this. One that's parallel, one that's perpendicular. What would the slope be if it's parallel? Negative 2, and then we'll finish that when we come back online.
Guys, have a good lunch.
Okay, finishing this problem. What would the slope be if we're looking for something that's parallel? Negative 2. So you would write y equals negative 2x, and then you would pick whatever y-intercept you want. It just can't be 6. What do you think? Let's 3, 0, negative 6, whatever you want. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to leave mine down. For part B, you would then be looking for something that's perpendicular. What slope would be perpendicular to negative 2? 1 over 2. So that would be y equals 1 over 2x. Then whatever y-intercept you want. Do you have any questions we skipped that you want to see or go over? If not, put your cell phones away. I should not see them on the desk, around you at all. The quiz is open notes, so you can use as much notes that you have, practice that you have. It's also ask your friends. So use each other, use your notes. You just cannot use me, and you cannot use your cell phone. or computer. If I see your computer or cell phone, then I'm taking your quiz and grading it as is.
So these are your alternates. This goes with this, and then. Yeah. Okay.